The long war between humans and the Krellans had finally ended. The stars that once burned with the light of battle were now calm again. Ships that had carried soldiers to fight among the planets were now bringing them home. Among those soldiers was a man named Rian. He was a simple human soldier who had spent 4 years fighting on distant worlds. Ryan had seen many things during the war. He had fought on frozen moons, walked through cities made of crystal, and faced machines that could think faster than any man. He had lost friends, but he had also gained respect. Ryan was known for his courage and for never leaving anyone behind. When the final treaty was signed, he did not expect any reward. He only wanted peace and a chance to rest. When Ryan's ship reached the main human base on the planet Arvin, the air was filled with noise. Soldiers cheered, hugged, and cried. Commanders spoke proudly of their bravery. Rian stood quietly, looking at the horizon where the twin suns were setting. He felt tired, not just in his body, but in his heart. He had fought for so long that peace felt strange. Later that evening, Ryan was called to the command office. Inside was General Halen, a tall man with silver hair and calm eyes. He greeted Ryan warmly and told him to sit. "Ryan," the general said, "you have done more than your duty. You saved hundreds during the siege of Torma. You stood your ground when others would have run. The Alliance has decided to reward you." Ryan frowned slightly. "I don't need a reward, sir. I only did my job." The general smiled. "That's what makes you different. But this is not about what you want. It's about what you deserve." He pressed a small button on his desk and the door opened. A guard entered, followed by someone else. Rian turned his head and froze. Standing in the doorway was a young woman, but she was not human. Her skin had a faint blue glow. Her hair shimmered like silver threads and her eyes were the color of deep water. She wore a simple gray suit and looked nervous, almost afraid. "This is Lyra," the general said. "She is a Krellan civilian. During the last phase of the war, she helped our forces by sending us vital information that saved many lives. The Krellan Council has agreed to release her into our care. The Alliance decided she should be placed under your protection. Think of her as your companion, your partner in rebuilding what was lost." Ryan looked at Lyra, who stood silently, her hands folded. "My companion?" he asked slowly. "Yes," said the general. "She has chosen to live among humans. We thought there would be no one better to guide her than you." Ryan hesitated. "Sir, I'm a soldier, not a teacher." "Maybe so," the general replied, "but peace also needs guardians. You'll be stationed at Haven Outpost for the next 6 months. It's quiet there. You'll both have time to learn and adjust." Ryan nodded slowly. He understood orders, even strange ones. When he left the office, Lyra followed him without a word. The hallway lights reflected off her pale skin, making her seem almost like a ghost. Ryan tried to speak, but his words caught. Finally, he said, "You don't have to be afraid. I won't hurt you." Lyra looked at him, her eyes soft but unreadable. "I am not afraid," she said quietly. Her voice was gentle with a musical tone. "But I do not understand why I am here." Ryan sighed. "To be honest, I don't either." 2 days later, they boarded a small transport ship to Haven Outpost, a remote station built on a peaceful planet surrounded by green forests and wide rivers. It was once a battlefield, but was now being restored by human and alien teams. Rian looked out the window as the planet came into view. It looked calm, untouched by war. Maybe this was what peace was supposed to look like. Lyra sat beside him, her gaze fixed on the stars. "Your people are strange," she said softly. Ryan turned to her. "Strange how? You fight so hard, yet when you win, you do not celebrate. You look sad." Ryan smiled faintly. "Because war costs too much. Even when we win, we lose something." Lyra nodded slowly. "Among the Krellan, we say that victory without understanding is only silence." "That's a good saying," Ryan said. "I think humans could learn from that." When they arrived at Haven, the base was quiet. The buildings were made of light stone and glass, surrounded by trees. There were only a few people working there, engineers, scientists, and a few soldiers like Ryan. They greeted him politely, but their eyes lingered on Lyra. Some whispered. It was rare to see a Kreelan among humans. Ryan led Lyra to their assigned quarters. It was a small cabin near the forest edge. Inside there were 2 rooms, simple and clean. Lyra looked around, touching the walls with curiosity. "It is warm," she said. "Better than a warship," Ryan replied. She smiled faintly. It was the first time he had seen her smile. It made her look less like an alien and more like a person just trying to find her place. Over the next few days, they settled into a quiet routine. Ryan worked on patrol duty and helped rebuild the defense systems. Lyra assisted the science team with translation work since she knew both human and Kreelan languages. She was intelligent and calm, but there was sadness in her eyes. At night, they sometimes sat outside the cabin watching the stars. The air smelled of pine, and the river nearby sang softly. "Do you miss your home?" Ryan asked one evening. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but I cannot go back. Many Kreelans still see humans as enemies. They would not accept me." Ryan understood that kind of loss. "I know what it's like to not belong anywhere," he said. "After a war, home never feels the same." She looked at him with quiet respect. "You understand more than most." A week later, a transport ship arrived, bringing supplies and a few new soldiers. Among them was an officer named Brant, someone Ryan had fought beside during the war. They greeted each other warmly, but Brant's smile faded when he saw Lyra. "You're keeping company with one of them?" Brant said with a frown. Ryan's tone stayed calm. "She's not one of them anymore. She's under my protection." Brant shook his head. "You're too soft, Ryan. They nearly wiped us out. You should be careful who you trust." Lyra quietly walked away, pretending not to hear, but Ryan could see the hurt in her eyes. That night, Ryan found her sitting by the river, staring at the water. "Lyra," he said softly, "don't listen to Brant. Not everyone understands." She nodded but didn't look up. "Hatred is easy. Understanding takes time." Ryan sat beside her. The sound of the river filled the silence between them. After a while, Lyra said, "When I first saw humans, I thought you were all the same. Loud, angry, and afraid. But you are different. You fight for others, not only for yourselves." Ryan smiled faintly. "Not all humans are like that, but some try to be." She turned to him. "That is why I chose to help your people. I wanted the fighting to stop. I wanted to believe we could share the same sky." For the first time, Ryan saw not an alien but a person who had suffered just as much as any soldier. Weeks passed and the base grew busier. More humans arrived and even a few Kreelan engineers came to help rebuild the damaged systems. There were tense moments, but slowly, cooperation began to grow. Ryan and Lyra became known as a strange but respected pair. When problems arose, they worked together to solve them. Lyra's calm logic balanced Ryan's determination. When she smiled, others began to see her not as an enemy, but as a bridge between 2 worlds. One evening, the base commander called Ryan to the control center. A distress signal had been picked up from a nearby settlement. A storm had damaged their power systems and they needed help. Without hesitation, Ryan volunteered to go. Lyra stepped forward. "I will go too," she said. The commander hesitated but agreed. "Fine, but stay alert. The terrain is rough." The next morning, they set out in a transport vehicle through the dense forest. The storm clouds were still heavy above them, and the air was thick with mist. Lyra sat beside Ryan, holding a small scanner. As they drove, Ryan said, "You don't have to come with me every time." "I want to," Lyra replied. "We are a team, are we not?" Ryan smiled. "Yes, we are." By evening, they reached the damaged outpost. The power grid was down, and several workers were trying to repair it. Ryan immediately joined the effort, while Lyra used her knowledge of Kreelan energy systems to stabilize the generator. As night fell, a bright flash of lightning struck nearby, shaking the ground. A support beam collapsed, trapping one of the workers under debris. Without thinking, Ryan rushed forward and lifted the heavy beam with all his strength, while Lyra pulled the injured man to safety. When it was over, everyone looked at them with awe. A human soldier and an alien woman had saved a life together. Later that night, as the generator hummed back to life and lights returned to the base, Ryan looked at Lyra and said quietly, "You did well." She smiled softly. "So did you." They stood together under the starlit sky, both silent, both thinking of how strange and fragile peace could be, but how worth it was to protect. Weeks turned into months at Haven Outpost. The days were calm, and the nights were filled with soft wind and the sound of rivers flowing through the valley. Ryan had started to enjoy this peace. For the first time since the war, he woke up without fear of alarms or gunfire. He trained every morning, checked the patrol lines, and helped the engineers when needed. Lyra often joined him, learning more about human ways each day. She liked to watch him work. When he repaired machines, his focus never broke. When he spoke to others, his tone stayed kind and steady. Ryan was not loud or proud like some soldiers. He was simple and honest, and that made people respect him. Lyra often spent her time in the research hall, helping human scientists study Creelan technology. She had a quiet but sharp mind. Whenever she spoke, people listened. Still, not everyone accepted her. Some humans still whispered behind her back, calling her a reminder of the war. Lyra never answered them. She only lowered her head and kept working. One evening, Ryan found her outside the base, sitting on a rock near the trees. The sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and red. "Long day?" he asked, walking over. Lyra nodded slowly. "Sometimes I think peace is harder than war. In war, you know who your enemy is. In peace, you never know who truly stands with you." Ryan sat beside her. "People take time to change. Some wounds heal slowly." She looked at him with calm eyes. "And what about your wounds, Ryan? Do they heal?" He smiled faintly.
"Some days yes, some days no."
"But I'm trying." They sat in silence for a while. A flock of small glowing birds flew above the trees, their wings leaving soft trails of light. Lyra watched them closely. "On my world, these creatures are called Lumari. They glow when they feel safe. Maybe your planet has its own version." Ryan smiled. "Then I hope they feel safe here." A few days later, new supplies arrived at the base. Along with them came a man named Captain Vorn, a high-ranking officer who had fought in several battles against the Creelans. He was known for his strictness and lack of mercy. When he arrived, everyone stood straighter. Ryan saluted him respectfully. Vorn looked around the base with cold eyes. "So this is Haven. Looks more like a camp than a fortress," he said. Then his gaze fell on Lyra. His brow tightened. "And what is a Creelan doing here?" Ryan stepped forward. "She's here under my protection, sir. She helps with translation and science work." Vorn frowned. "A Creelan helping humans? That is not something I ever expected to see." Lyra stood calmly, though her hands were folded tightly. "Peace must start somewhere," she said softly. Vorn looked at her for a long moment before turning away. "We will see how long that peace lasts." His words left a shadow over the base. That night, Ryan could feel the tension in the air. Soldiers whispered about Vorn's arrival. Some said he was sent to inspect them. Others believed he wanted to turn Haven into a full military post again. Ryan didn't like the idea. Haven had become a place of rebuilding, a quiet home for both humans and aliens trying to forget the war. Turning it into a fortress would destroy that fragile peace. The next morning, Ryan was assigned to show Vorn the nearby patrol routes. Lyra joined them to assist with navigation. The three of them traveled through the forest, the tall trees casting long shadows across their path. For a while, no one spoke. Then Vorn said, "Tell me, soldier, do you really trust her?" Ryan kept walking. "Yes, I do," Vorn scoffed. "You must have forgotten what they did. My men were ambushed by Creelans during the Battle of Soren Ridge. None survived except me. You may have peace in your heart, but don't expect me to share it." Lyra's voice was quiet but steady. "I am sorry for your loss, Captain. My people lost many too. The war took everything from both sides." Vorn turned sharply toward her. "Save your words. Some things cannot be forgiven." Ryan stopped walking. His eyes met Vorn's. "If we can't forgive, then we'll just start another war. I've had enough of that." Vorn stared at him, then turned away without replying. They finished the patrol in silence. Later that week, the base received strange reports. Several drones sent to map nearby valleys had gone missing. At first, people thought it was a technical problem. But when a patrol found one drone crushed and burned, worry spread quickly. Ryan was called to the command center. The screen showed the last image sent by the drone: trees snapped in half, ground scorched, and strange marks glowing faintly on the soil. "What do you think?" the commander asked. Ryan frowned. "Could be leftover Creelan tech. Some war machines might still be buried out there." Lyra stepped forward. "Those marks look like a Creelan distress code. It means danger ahead." Vorn crossed his arms. "Convenient that only she can read it." Ryan shot him a look. "She's the only one here who can." "We should check it out before it spreads," the commander agreed. "Take a small team and investigate." "Be careful," Ryan nodded. "Yes, sir." The next morning, Ryan led a group of 4 soldiers with Lyra by his side. They moved through the thick forest toward the signal source. The sunlight barely reached the ground through the tall canopy. Birds called softly from the branches above. After several hours, they reached a clearing. There, half buried in the dirt, was a large metal structure. Its surface was black and curved like the shell of some giant insect. Symbols glowed faintly across it. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes widening. "This is not a weapon," she said. "It is a Creelan scout vessel, very old. It must have crashed during the early battles." Ryan examined the wreck carefully. "Does it still work?" She shook her head. "No, but something inside is active. A power cell, maybe." Before they could move closer, a small tremor shook the ground. The soldiers raised their weapons. Ryan looked around sharply. "What was that?" A deep hum rose from beneath the soil. The metal hull began to shift, and a faint light spread through the cracks. "It's waking up," Lyra said urgently. "We need to shut it down before it calls for help." Ryan quickly ordered the team to form a perimeter. Lyra rushed to the ship's side, placing her hand on a glowing panel. Her fingers moved quickly across the alien symbols. Ryan watched her, ready to act if anything went wrong. The ground shook again, stronger this time. A sudden beam of blue light shot upward into the sky, piercing the clouds. "Lyra!" Ryan shouted. "I'm trying!" She called back. "The system is locked." Ryan ran to her side and fired his pulse rifle at a nearby energy core. Sparks burst out and the light flickered. Lyra entered one last command and the glow finally faded. The forest fell silent again. Ryan lowered his weapon, breathing hard. What was that light? Lyra looked at the sky. It was a beacon. It sent a signal into orbit. "If any Creelan ships are still listening, they will come." Vorn's voice crackled over the comms. "Report, soldier." "What happened?" Ryan replied. "We found a crashed Creelan ship. It activated for a few seconds but is shut down now." Vorn's tone was sharp. "Destroy it before it causes more trouble." Lyra stepped forward. "Wait, there may be information inside. If we destroy it, we lose the chance to learn why it reactivated." Vorn's answer came cold. "Orders are orders. Eliminate it." Ryan hesitated. He looked at Lyra, then at the wreck. "No, not until we know what it is." There was silence on the radio. Then Vorn said slowly, "You're disobeying a direct order, soldier." Ryan's voice stayed calm. "I'm doing what's right." He cut the connection. Back at the base, Vorn was furious when they returned with a data core instead of destroying the ship. But the commander backed Ryan's decision after seeing the data. The record showed that the ship had sent an automated call decades ago, meant for a Creelan rescue fleet that never came. It was harmless now. Still, the message it sent earlier had gone into space and no one knew if anyone had received it. That night, Ryan stood outside looking at the stars. Lyra joined him, her eyes full of worry. "Do you think someone will answer the signal?" she asked. "Maybe," Ryan said quietly. "But if they do, we'll be ready." She looked up at the same stars, her face calm but thoughtful. "My people will come one day. I do not know if they will come in peace or fear. But if they see you, maybe they will understand humans are not what they think." Ryan smiled slightly. "Then we'll make sure they see the truth." A soft breeze passed between them. The night was calm again, but in the distance, beyond the quiet forest, a faint flicker of light appeared in the sky. The morning after the strange signal, the base at Haven felt tense. Soldiers moved faster, speaking in short voices. The command center was busy with reports from orbital scanners. Something had changed in the sky. Ryan stood near the main screen as the commander explained. 3 unknown objects have entered the system. They are moving slowly but with clear purpose. We don't know who they belong to yet. Lyra was beside him, her face pale. 3 ships, she said softly. That number is sacred to my people. When Kralins send 3 ships together, it means they come to speak, not to fight. The commander turned to her. Are you sure? She nodded. Yes, but if they see human warships around, they might believe this place is a trap. You must show them peace first. Captain Vorn crossed his arms. Or they might be scouts preparing for another invasion. Ryan said firmly, We won't know until we talk to them. The commander looked at both of them and finally said, We will prepare a message. Lyra, I want you to write the greeting in your language. Ryan, you will lead the contact team if they approach. Rian nodded. He had never imagined being an ambassador, but he was ready to try. Hours passed slowly. Everyone on the base could feel the pressure building. The 3 ships drew closer to the planet's orbit. The scanners picked up their outlines, sleek and curved, glowing faintly blue. Lyra stood near the window, watching the sky. Those ships are from my home world, she said quietly. I recognize the symbols. Ryan looked at her. Will they welcome you? She hesitated. I don't know. To them, I am a traitor who helped humans. They might see me as an enemy now. Ryan placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we'll show them you're not. Her eyes met his for a moment, full of worry and gratitude. By evening, the ship sent a transmission. The air in the command room filled with a strange tone, followed by words in the Kreelan tongue. Lyra stepped forward, translating softly. They say they received a beacon from this world. They ask who lives here and if the war is over. The commander said, Tell them the war is over. Tell them we seek peace. Lyra repeated the message in her language. Her voice was calm and steady. After a pause, the reply came, short but clear. They will send a landing craft, she said. They want to meet. Vorn's face hardened. It could be a trap. Ryan replied, Then I'll go first. The next morning, a small Kreelan ship descended through the clouds, landing near the open field outside the base. Soldiers surrounded it carefully, weapons lowered but ready. The craft opened with a hiss and 3 figures stepped out. They were tall and graceful with the same faint blue glow as Lyra. Their clothing shimmered like woven light. The one in front had markings on his face that showed high rank. His voice carried calm authority. I am Terran of the Kreelan Council, he said. We received a signal from this world. Who speaks for the humans? Ryan stepped forward. I am Sergeant Rian of the Human Alliance. Welcome to Haven. We mean no harm. Terran studied him quietly. You speak as a soldier, yet you bring words of peace. That is rare among your kind. Ryan smiled faintly. Maybe this war changed us both. Then Terran's gaze moved to Lyra, who stood behind Ryan. His expression shifted from calm to shock. Lyra of the House of Saren, you live? Lyra lowered her head. Yes, Counselor, I live. I have been with the humans since the last battle. Terran's voice grew sharp. You aided them. You turned against your own people. I helped end the war, Lyra said quietly. Not destroy my people. Ryan stepped between them slightly. She saved human lives and Kreelan lives. Without her, more would have died. If that is betrayal, then it is a noble one. The other Kreelans whispered softly among themselves. Terran looked at Rian, then at Lyra again. Perhaps you speak truth, human. But words are not enough. We will inspect this place. We must be sure your peace is real. Ryan nodded. You're welcome to see everything. We have nothing to hide. For the next 2 days, the Kreelans toured the base. Lyra guided them through each section, showing how humans and Kreelans worked together. They saw engineers rebuilding bridges, scientists studying old ruins, and farmers planting seeds in the rich soil. At first, Terran seemed distant, but slowly his expression softened. He saw that the humans were not rebuilding weapons, they were rebuilding life. One evening, as the sun set, Rian found Terran standing outside the research hall, looking at the horizon. You fight no longer, Terran said quietly. Your people could have claimed this world for themselves, but instead you share it. Ryan nodded. We've seen what greed does. We don't want that again. Terran looked at him. Lyra trusted you. That means something. She was always one who saw beyond fear. Ryan said, She believes both our kinds can live together. I believe that too. The Kreelan leader was silent for a long time, then said, Perhaps peace is not a dream after all. But not everyone felt the same. Captain Vorn had grown restless since the aliens arrived. He didn't trust them, and he hated seeing humans lowering their weapons. Late one night, he met with a few soldiers who shared his doubts. "These aliens are playing us," Vorn said in a low voice. "They'll strike when we relax. I've seen it before. We can't let them take control of Haven." One of the soldiers asked, "What do you plan to do, sir?" Vorn's eyes were cold. "We'll show them humans are not fools. We'll send a warning they can't ignore." The next morning, Ryan and Lyra were in the forest with Terran's team, collecting samples from the crash site. The air was calm. Birds sang softly. Then a sudden explosion echoed from the direction of the base. Smoke rose above the trees. Ryan's heart dropped. That came from Haven. Terran's guards raised their weapons. "You promised us peace, human," one of them shouted. Ryan said quickly, "I didn't order this. Stay here. I'll find out what happened." He turned to Lyra. "Stay with them. Keep them calm." "I'm coming with you," she said firmly. He knew it was useless to argue. Together they ran through the forest toward the rising smoke. When they reached the base, chaos had broken out. One of the supply buildings was on fire, and soldiers were shouting orders. Ryan grabbed a nearby engineer. "What happened?" The man stammered. "An explosion, sir. Someone tried to destroy the Creelan ship." Ryan's eyes widened. "Where's Captain Vorn?" Before the man could answer, Vorn appeared from behind a vehicle, shouting orders to secure the perimeter. His face was hard, his eyes blazing. "What have you done?" Ryan demanded. "I did what had to be done," Vorn said coldly. "They were never here for peace. That signal was a trap." Ryan stepped closer. "You disobeyed command and risked everything we built," Vorn sneered. "You're too blind to see the truth. They'll kill us all once they get what they want." Before Ryan could reply, a deep humming sound filled the air. The Creelan ship above the field had activated its shields. Blue light surrounded it, and a voice came over the base speakers. "Humans, you have broken your word. We came in peace, but you bring fire." Ryan ran to the command center and grabbed the communicator. "Wait, it wasn't us. It was a mistake, but the signal cut off." The Creelan ships in orbit began to move. Lyra entered the command room, her face full of fear. "They think you attacked them. They will defend themselves." Ryan looked at her desperately. "You have to talk to them. Tell them the truth." She nodded and rushed to the console, sending a direct transmission. Her voice was urgent but calm. "Terran, please listen. This was not ordered by the humans. It was one man's action. The rest of them want peace." There was silence for a long moment. Then Terran's voice came, heavy but controlled. "I will come down to speak. But if I see another attack, peace will end forever." Lyra turned to Ryan. "He is giving us one last chance." Minutes later, Terran landed with his guards. The air was thick with tension. Human soldiers stood ready while Creelan troops watched from the edge of the field. One wrong move could start another war. Ryan stepped forward slowly, unarmed. "This is not what we wanted," he said. "One of our own acted without orders. He is under arrest." He turned to Vorn. "You'll answer for this." Vorn glared but said nothing as guards took his weapon. Terran looked at the scene quietly. "Your people punish their own for attacking us. That is a rare sight," Ryan said. "Because we believe in justice, not revenge." The Creelan leader studied him for a long time, then nodded. "Perhaps you speak truth after all." That evening, as the fires were put out and calm returned, Ryan and Lyra sat outside the command building. The sky above was full of stars again. Lyra said softly, "Today could have ended everything." Ryan nodded. "It still could. But we stopped it together." She looked at him. Terran saw that. "Maybe now he will tell others that humans can be trusted." Ryan smiled. "And maybe one day no one will remember who started the war at all." She smiled faintly. "That would be a good day." They sat quietly, listening to the sound of the forest around them. The base lights glowed softly in the distance. The night felt calm again, but both knew this peace was still fragile. Somewhere beyond the stars, more Creelan ships would hear the beacon, and someday, more would come. Whether they came for war or peace would depend on what these two had built together. For now, though, the fires were out, the sky was clear, and the first small hope of lasting friendship had begun to grow. Days after the near disaster at Haven Outpost, the base slowly returned to its routine. Soldiers repaired damaged buildings, engineers checked equipment, and scientists returned to their studies. The Creelan visitors stayed in a small secured area, observing human activities while Lyra continued to translate and guide them. Ryan walked through the main courtyard, checking on everyone. He had learned to trust Lyra's judgment in the field, and today she was leading a team of engineers in rebuilding the energy grid damaged during the earlier explosion. "Ryan," Lyra called. "Come here for a moment." He walked over, noticing the intensity in her eyes. "There's something unusual in the energy logs," she said. "A small fluctuation that doesn't match any natural pattern. I think someone tried to tamper with the system overnight." Ryan frowned. "Tamper? But the base is secure." "Only a few humans and Krelans have access." "Could it be an accident?" Lyra shook her head. "No, someone knew what they were doing. The data points are deliberate." Ryan's stomach tightened. After the last incident with Vorn, the base could not afford another act of sabotage. "We'll find out who did this," he said firmly. That afternoon, Ryan and Lyra began reviewing security footage. The cameras showed soldiers performing routine checks, engineers working, and Krelans observing quietly. Then in one sequence, a shadow moved near the energy console. Ryan froze. "Pause it there," he said, leaning closer. "Who is that?" Lyra studied the screen. "I don't recognize the uniform. It's not human or Krelan standard. Someone is hiding their identity." Ryan clenched his fists. "That means someone outside the base knows about the systems." "They could be spies," Lyra nodded. "And if they want to destabilize this place, they'll act soon." Ryan's mind raced. Haven was supposed to be a place of peace, yet enemies, human or alien, were still trying to interfere. But he refused to let fear control him. He looked at Lyra. "We'll handle this together." Just like before. Her eyes met his. "Together," she repeated. The next morning, Ryan organized a small patrol to the outer perimeter. Lyra came along carrying a portable scanner that could detect hidden energy sources. The forest around the base was quiet, the wind rustling the leaves softly. After several hours, the scanner picked up a faint energy signature buried under a pile of rocks near the old watchtower. Ryan crouched and examined it. "It's a small device. Someone planted it to disrupt our communication lines." Lyra's eyes widened. If it had gone off, the Krelan ships would have assumed we attacked again. That could have triggered another conflict. Ryan carefully disarmed the device. "We need to find out who put it here. Whoever did this knows our routines too well." Suddenly, a rustle in the trees caught their attention. Ryan raised his rifle while Lyra readied a small Krelan energy detector. A figure stepped out. It was a young human soldier looking nervous and guilty. "Lieutenant Marek," Ryan said sternly. "What are you doing here?" Marek stammered, I thought I could help. I wanted to prove my loyalty, but I didn't know it would cause so much trouble." Ryan lowered his weapon slightly. "You tried to sabotage the base?" Marek nodded, tears forming in his eyes. "I didn't want to hurt anyone. I thought if I removed the Krelan presence, humans would trust each other more. I didn't know it would put the entire base at risk." Lyra stepped forward, her voice gentle but firm. "Trust is built through cooperation, not fear." "You could have caused a war," Ryan sighed. "You'll face the consequences for this. But right now we need to secure the base and make sure no other devices are planted." Marek nodded, his face pale. "I understand. I will help." For the next several hours, Ryan, Lyra, and Marek inspected the perimeter. They found 2 more small devices hidden among the rocks and trees. Each was carefully placed, but with careful work, Lyra disarmed them all. By evening, the base was secure again. Soldiers returned to their stations, and the Krelan visitors watched silently. Terran, their leader, approached Ryan and Lyra. "You prevented a disaster," he said. "Your actions today show more than courage, they show wisdom." Ryan nodded. "We cannot control everything, but we can choose how to respond." Terran looked at Lyra. "And your guidance was key. I see why humans trust you. You understand both worlds." Lyra's face softened slightly. "We all must understand each other if peace is to last." Terran nodded thoughtfully and returned to his group. The following week, the base received another unexpected visitor. A small Krelan ship landed quietly near the main field. Out stepped a young woman, her silver hair catching the sunlight and her eyes shining with curiosity. "This is Seelan," Lyra explained. "She is an envoy from the Krelan Council. She comes to observe our cooperation and report back." Ryan greeted her with a polite bow. "Welcome to Haven. I hope your stay will show you that humans and Krelans can work together." Seelan smiled slightly. "I hope so too. My council wants to see if this alliance is strong enough to last beyond the stars." During her stay, Seelan observed the daily routines of the base. She accompanied Rian and Lyra on patrols, visited the labs, and spoke with both humans and Kreelans. She noticed how the two groups respected each other, how mistakes were corrected with patience, and how both sides shared knowledge freely. By the third day, she approached Ryan privately. "Your people are not what I expected," she said. "I thought humans were reckless and greedy, but I see discipline, care, and wisdom. This base is proof that your species can build peace." Ryan smiled faintly. "We make mistakes, but we try. That's what matters," Seelan nodded. "And the Kreelan who works with you, she is extraordinary. Your companion has guided both sides with calm and intelligence." Ryan's gaze fell on Lyra, who was helping a group of engineers stabilize a power core. "She is remarkable," he said quietly. "Not just because she is Kreelan, but because she believes in cooperation, even when it is hard." Seelan smiled. "Then you have hope. And hope is a powerful thing." That evening, a festival was organized to celebrate the success of peace and cooperation. It was small but filled with warmth. Soldiers sang songs from Earth, while Kreelans shared stories of their homeworld. Lanterns glowed softly in the night, reflecting in the river that ran near the base. Rian watched Lyra from a distance. She laughed softly at a Kreelan tale, her eyes shining in the lantern light. For the first time, Ryan felt a sense of family he had not known during the war. This base, these people, and even the alien visitors, they were all part of something greater than himself. Seelan approached him. "You have done more than fight for your people. You have built trust across worlds." Rian nodded. "It was not just me. Lyra guided us and the soldiers followed. We learned that peace is work, not a gift," Seelan smiled. "Remember this night. It is a memory you will carry for years, and it will remind both humans and Kreelans that they can choose cooperation over war." But as the night grew quiet, a soft whisper reached Ryan's mind, not from anyone around him, but from the stars themselves. The faint glow in the distance, the signal that Lyra had activated months ago, still pulsed in the void. Other Kreelan ships had received it, and some of them might not come with peace in their hearts. Rian did not speak of it to anyone. He only held Lyra's hand briefly, feeling the warmth and determination in her presence. "Whatever comes next," he said quietly, "we will face it together." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting the lantern light. "Together," she repeated. The night passed with a calm sky, the stars twinkling as if in approval. Yet deep in the distance, beyond the reach of the base, the faint hum of approaching ships echoed, a reminder that peace was precious, but fragile. For now, Haven Outpost stood as a beacon of hope, a place where humans and Kreelans had proven that trust, courage, and understanding could overcome the shadows of the past. Rian looked at the stars again, determined. Whatever challenges awaited, he would protect this fragile peace. Not for glory, not for reward, but for the future they were all trying to build together. Rylan and Tira stood at the edge of the Varelian Council Hall, their bodies tired but their spirits strong. The battle against the rogue faction had ended weeks ago, yet the weight of their mission still lingered in their minds. Space between stars stretched endlessly, and the frontier they had fought to protect seemed calmer now. But they knew peace was always fragile. Today they were here not to fight but to be recognized, to receive the honors that both humans and Varelians rarely gave to outsiders. The council hall was immense, a towering structure of crystalline walls that shimmered with soft lights. Every step Rylan took echoed slightly, his boots touching the smooth, polished floor. Tira walked beside him with her usual calm, precise movements, yet there was a spark of pride in her eyes. She had led the engineers in defending key systems, and her strategies had saved countless lives. Rylan, for his part, had fought bravely alongside Varelian troops and civilians alike. Together they had become a team that had changed the course of the conflict. As they entered the central chamber, dozens of Varelian leaders turned to face them. Their eyes, reflective and deep, held curiosity and respect. Humans were rare in this council. Rylan felt a slight nervousness but reminded himself that he was not alone. Tira had been his guide, his partner, and his equal through every trial. Her presence gave him confidence. A high-ranking Varelian, tall and adorned in ceremonial garb, stepped forward. Her voice resonated in the hall, clear and commanding. "Rylan of Earth, Tira of Varelia, your actions have preserved countless lives. You have demonstrated courage, intelligence, and unity beyond any expectation. Today, you are honored not as a soldier and an assistant, but as true partners in defense of the frontier." Ryland's chest swelled with pride. He glanced at Tira, who gave him a small nod. That simple gesture said more than words ever could. She trusted him, and he trusted her. The recognition they were receiving was not just for individual deeds, but for what they had achieved together. Each council member presented a token of respect. Ryland received a medallion, simple in design but inscribed with symbols of courage and unity. Tira received a similar honor, a crystalline emblem representing wisdom and skill. Both were rare gifts given only to those who had shaped the future of Virelia. Holding the medallion in his hands, Ryland felt a connection to something larger than himself. He realized that humans too could leave a mark across the stars if they dared to reach out and work alongside others. After the ceremony, the council members invited them to speak. Ryland stepped forward first, feeling the words carefully. "I am honored," he began, his voice steady. "Not just for the recognition, but for the chance to work with Tira. She showed me that courage is not only about fighting, but also about thinking, understanding, and caring for others. Together, we learned that humans and Virelians can accomplish great things when we trust each other." Tira followed, her tone calm and precise, yet filled with warmth. "Ryland taught me that bravery comes in many forms. He reminded me that human determination can match any technology or plan. Together, we faced challenges that neither of us could have handled alone. Our victory belongs to all who stood with us, human and Virelian alike." The council chamber echoed with applause, not only from Virelians but also from humans who had traveled with Ryland on missions. The energy in the room was powerful, a tangible feeling of unity and achievement. It was not only a victory over an enemy, but a celebration of cooperation, respect, and shared humanity. Later, outside the hall, Ryland and Tira walked toward a viewing platform. Below, the frontier stretched in a vast panorama of stars, planets, and distant nebulae. The memory of battles fought and challenges overcome seemed small compared to the endless possibilities ahead. Tira broke the silence first. "Do you realize what we accomplished?" she asked. "We showed two species that we can work together, that trust and respect can create something stronger than any weapon." Ryland nodded, looking out at the stars. "I do, and I also realize that this is only the beginning. There are more systems, more people, and more challenges, but now I know we can face them together. Human courage and Virelian wisdom, there's no limit to what we can do." Tira smiled slightly, a rare but genuine expression that Ryland had learned to recognize. "Then we continue. We explore. We protect. We learn from each other. And perhaps one day humans and Virelians will not only fight together, but also thrive together across the stars." The next days were filled with preparation. Ryland and Tira reviewed mission reports, trained with new recruits, and assisted in rebuilding parts of the frontier affected by the rogue faction. Their work was never-ending, but the satisfaction they felt was unmatched. Each human or Virelian life they saved reinforced their belief that partnership across species was essential for survival and progress. One evening, as the twin moons of the frontier planet rose in the sky, Ryland and Tira sat side by side on a hill overlooking the capital city. The lights below twinkled like stars fallen to the ground. They were silent for a while, each lost in thought, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. Ryland finally spoke. "You know, I never expected that receiving a companion would turn into this. I thought it would be a simple assignment, a reward for my service, but it became so much more. You became my friend, my partner, and my guide." Tira turned to him, her eyes reflecting the moons above. "And you became more than a soldier. You became someone who could understand, adapt, and lead beyond expectations. You reminded me that strength comes in many forms. Together we are more than our origins." Ryland smiled. "Then we keep going. We don't stop here. There is so much to see, to learn, and to protect." Tira nodded. "Yes, and whatever comes next, we face it as equals. Not human and alien, but partners." Over the following months, Ryland and Tira continued missions across the frontier. They rescued colonies from natural disasters, mediated conflicts between alien factions, and explored uncharted systems. Each adventure strengthened their bond and their understanding of each other's culture and values. They inspired others around them. Humans learned to appreciate Virelian ingenuity, and Virelians learned to admire human courage and determination. One day, as they prepared for a diplomatic mission to a distant coalition planet, Ryland reflected on everything that had happened. "It is remarkable," he said. "We started as strangers from different worlds. Now we are part of something larger, a vision where cooperation and respect guide every decision. That is the future worth fighting for." Tira placed a hand on his shoulder. "And it will continue, because humans and Varelians working together can achieve what no single species could ever imagine. The frontier is just the beginning. The stars stretched infinitely before them, a reminder of challenges yet to come and possibilities yet to be discovered." Rylan and Tira walked toward their ship, ready to face whatever awaited them. Their story was not only about bravery in battle, but also about respect, understanding, and partnership across worlds. In every star system they visited, they carried the message that unity and courage could overcome even the most impossible odds. As they launched into space, the frontier unfolded beneath them. Planets rotating silently, moons orbiting gracefully, and nebulae glowing softly. The future was uncertain, yet it was full of hope. Humans and Varelians would explore it together, side by side, and the story of Rylan and Tira would inspire countless others to trust, learn, and protect across the galaxy. And so, the human soldier and the Varelian engineer continued their journey. Their partnership became legendary, a symbol of cooperation, bravery, and mutual respect. They reminded the galaxy that true strength lies not in domination but in unity. Through every challenge, they proved that when different worlds come together, the possibilities are endless. The frontier remained vast, full of danger and wonder. But it was a place where humans could make a difference. Rylan had once received a companion as a reward, but in truth, he had gained something far greater: a partner, a friend, and a symbol of humanity's potential among the stars. And together, they would continue to protect, explore, and inspire. Humanity had arrived at the stars, and through respect, courage, and wisdom, it would shine brighter than ever.